Tonight on NewsNation Prime, the manhunt is over in Pennsylvania for escaped inmate Michael Burham. Meet the family and their four-legged friend who helped track down the fugitive. NewsNation is live on the ground with the latest. Connecting the dots in Long Island. Investigators still piecing together key details in the Gilgo Beach murders and if the alleged killer is tied to the 7 remaining cold cases. We're live in the suspect's neighborhood with details. Kidnapped in Mexico while walking her dog. A California woman is now returning home. The FBI searching for her captors. NewsNation has the update. Vladimir Putin's new threat in Ukraine just days after the U.S. agreed to send cluster bombs to the front lines. Why top officials are saying we had the moral obligation to do so. An update on the war ahead. And a hazardous chemical plant fire still raging in Louisiana. New video showing the terrifying explosions. What we know tonight. That and more on NewsNation Prime right now.
Live from NewsNation headquarters, this is NewsNation Prime.
Thanks for joining us on NewsNation Prime. I'm Nick Smith. Our team of correspondents are tracking several evolving stories. Evan Moon is in Washington, D.C. She's tracking Vladimir Putin's new threat to use cluster bombs now that weapons are in Ukraine. Does Putin's warning hold any weight? And Jorge Ventura is following breaking news in Georgia. The manhunt for the gunman who allegedly shot and killed 4 people outside of Atlanta is over. Officials tell NewsNation police shot and killed their suspect this afternoon. We have new information about this developing story. And Sloan Glass is in Long Island, New York, as officials continue to investigate the Gilgo Beach murders. New reports say the suspect enjoyed talking about the slayings during social events. We're digging into the background of the man police have called a demon. But first, we start with the epic finale in the manhunt for Michael Burham. The Pennsylvania inmate is expected to get hit with new charges after being on the run for 9 days. Police say the homicide and arson suspect was arrested at gunpoint and looked worn out. NewsNation's Emily Finn joins us live. Emily, you spoke to the people behind the capture and a family that played a heroic role in all of this.
That's right, Nick. We had the opportunity to speak with the Eklund family today. They're the ones that tipped off police after they found Michael Burham right in their backyard. But they're giving credit where credit is due to their dog, Tucker. He went from being a good boy to a hero when he ran to investigate something he saw in the woods. Take a look. Good throw this time. Ready? It was here at the Eklund residence on Jackson Run Road where escaped inmate Michael Burham was spotted and later captured by police. So we want to introduce you guys to Tucker. He was the hero of this investigation. His barking and running down to the creek is what notified the Eklunds that they had to go investigate, and that's when they found Michael Burham right in their backyard. Tucker's unusual behavior prompted Ron and Cindy Eklund to take a look at who was lurking in the woods behind their home.
Well, he took off running for the creek. Okay. Tucker did, barking. And I tried to call him back, and he wouldn't come. Usually he'll come back when I call him.
That's when they came face to face with Burham, shirtless and dirty from spending 9 days on the run. They recognized him immediately from seeing his face on the news and from photos of his tattoos released by police.
Michael stood up and I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Camping." I'm like, "No." Told Cindy, I said, "Get in the golf cart, we gotta go."
About 2 hours later, Burham was back in police custody.
Which I think is very quick considering the amount of manpower and dogs and helicopters and all of that. I thought that was very quick, that they did a good job.
Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens with the Pennsylvania State Police said Burham looked worn out when they captured him.
In some respects, he may have been relieved that it was over as well.
Burham will be facing additional charges for his most recent escape, but the specifics are still to be determined. At the time of his escape just over a week ago, Burham was being held on arson, kidnapping, and burglary in Pennsylvania. He's also the prime suspect in murder and rape cases across the New York border in Jamestown. To make his escape, he climbed up on exercise equipment and descended from the jail's roof before fleeing to the more than 500,000 acres of the Allegheny National Forest. The manhunt to track him down was massive, with officials from federal, state, and local agencies all participating. Bivens thanked everyone involved in the search for their efforts.
We had a relatively short but successful outcome. I know 9 days doesn't seem all that short, but again, compared to some others that we've done, it's not bad. We'll take it, and again, we're just happy that it turned out the way that it did.
And Nick, we're here in front of the Warren County Jail tonight, where Burham made his big escape last week. He's in custody right now at the Erie County Prison, and there's some debate about where he's going to be moved afterwards. Some are concerned about bringing him back to this prison, or to this jail, because we know that this is where he escaped from. But we will see. We're going to have that answer of where they're going to be moving him after his arraignment, and we know that his arraignment is going to be coming in a couple of days here, Nick.
Emily Finn live for us tonight in Warren, Pennsylvania, and also with Tucker. Emily, thank you so much.
The citizens of Hampton, the county of Henry, the metro Atlanta area, and the entire state of Georgia can breathe a little easy.
Now to an update in a heartbreaking story outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Police say the suspect in the shootings that killed 4 people on Saturday is dead. 40-year-old Andre Longmore was shot and killed by authorities following a massive search for the suspect. Now, 2 officers were also hurt trying to apprehend him. NewsNation's Jorge Ventura joins us live with more. Jorge, the chief yesterday said that we will hunt you down. It seems to have proven true.
Yeah, that's right, Nick. So we are learning that Andre Longmore was killed in a firefight with officers in Jonesboro, Georgia. That's about 20 minutes from Hampton, Georgia, where that shooting occurred. The shooting actually happened near a high school. We're also learning that 2 officers were wounded in that firefight with Andre Longmore. One of those officers with Henry County deputies, the other one being with Clayton County. Both officers are conscious and did not suffer any life-threatening injuries. That's according to officials. So good news there for Georgia law enforcement. Now, the shooter, Andre Longmore, was wanted for the murder of 3 men and 1 woman. The victims were 67-year-old Scott Levitt, 66-year-old Shirley Levitt, and 65-year-old Stephen Blizzard, and 66-year-old Ronald Jeffers. Longmore opened fire on the victims in the Dogwood Lakes subdivision in Hampton at around 10:45 yesterday morning. Now, the town's mayor also spoke in today's press conference. She took the time to honor the victims and the community. That shooting kicked off a multi-law enforcement manhunt for Longmore. The motive for the shooting is still unclear at this time and is still being investigated.
Today is about the victims of this tragic event. It's about their families, and it's about the community. On July the 15th, a tragedy befell our community. This event caused our citizens to be anxious and on high alert. However, during this time, we did what Hampton does. We took care of each other.
Now, as authorities are going to continue to investigate the motive of the shooting, there will be a candlelight vigil tomorrow for the victims, Nick.
Jorge, an American woman was released from her abductors in Mexico after being held captive for 8 months. What have you learned about that?
Yeah, Nick, so Monica De Leon Barbara, she's a California woman. She lives actually in the Bay Area, and she was in Mexico for a job opportunity last year. She went missing back in November. Months went by, and the FBI couldn't make any progress on this investigation. So in April, the FBI did make the decision to release that footage of her kidnapping. It was captured on a security camera from a store nearby. She was actually kidnapped in the Mexican state of Jalisco. Monica was actually seen in that video walking with her dog. You can see a couple of vehicles actually pull up to that sidewalk where she was walking, and you do see a couple men step out of that vehicle and then force her into that vehicle. Now, we still don't know the motive of that kidnapping, but according to the FBI, she was released on July 14th. She is now en route back home to the U.S. and will be in the Bay Area soon to reunite with her family. But the big question now is, Nick, is who are these suspects and why did they decide to kidnap Monica for so long?
And Jorge, this does indeed remain an active investigation, yes?
Yeah, that's right. We did reach out to the FBI. They say that they are still going to be investigating. The key now is going to be is locating those suspects in Jalisco and then charging them. They're going to be working with the Mexican law enforcement. But as of right now, we don't know who those suspects are. We don't know the motive and just why they chose Monica to be kidnapped. So we'll be finding out more information these next upcoming weeks, Nick.
Jorge Ventura live for us this evening. Jorge, thank you so much. Meanwhile, tonight, a Long Island community is still a crime scene days after an arrest in the notorious Gilgo Beach murders. For a third day in a row, police cars and trucks lined the street as investigators continue to search inside the home of suspected serial killer Rex Heuermann. Now, a massive collection of weapons have already been removed. NewsNation's Sloan Glass joins us live from Massapequa Park on Long Island. Sloan, neighbors there must be going through a roller coaster of emotions because this part of southern Long Island is rather upscale.
Right. There's a lot of shock in this community, Nick. There's also a mix of relief and sadness. Now, this is just the beginning. Investigators are continuing to comb through Heuermann's home, searching for further evidence connecting him to these serial murders.
Weapon after weapon after weapon caught by our NewsNation crew being taken out of the home of accused serial killer Rex Heuermann.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families.
Heuermann is charged with the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. He is the prime suspect in the death of Maureen Brainerd Barnes. They are known as the Gilgo Four. All sex workers, petite, found near each other, bound in similar fashions. Their remains were found while investigators began looking for missing Shannon Gilbert in 2010. The search for Shannon along the marshy stretch uncovered 11 sets of remains, 9 women, a man, and a toddler. For over a decade, the Long Island serial killer case remained relatively cold. The killer using burner phones to taunt victims' families.
Is this Melissa's little sister?
Heuermann worked as the president of an architect firm alongside his daughter and lived in his childhood home in Massapequa Park.
They just kept to themselves. We talked to the neighbors across the street, and we're very friendly around here. Everyone is very close. I mean, we go away on vacation with most of our neighbors, and they did not keep in contact with anybody.
A friendly town where Heuermann was a mystery to neighbors and classmates.
He just said that he was a quiet, man in school and just very quiet.
A multi-agency task force created last year found an avalanche of evidence. Burner phones used to call victims' families were linked to email addresses created by Heuermann. Child pornography, images of the victims and their relatives, and obsessive searches online of the Long Island serial killer.
In a 14-month period, he had over 200 searches pertaining to the Gilgo investigation.
Finally, Heuermann's wife's hair was found on 3 of the victims, and his DNA left on thrown-out pizza crust matched the profile of hair found on Megan Waterman.
The bail application points to travel logs that show that Heuermann's wife was out of town every time those women went missing. Those travel logs also show that the harassing phone calls being made to Melissa Barthelемy's family stopped when Heuermann was out of the country, only to return again when he got back home, Nick.
Well, Sloan, it looks like the information you just laid out, the details of that forensic evidence will be key in any prosecution that's forthcoming. Sloan Glass, live for us this evening. Sloan, thank you. Tonight, incredible new video of an explosion at a Louisiana chemical plant that literally shook residents. Take a look. This massive blast looks like something out of an Oppenheimer movie. Now, officials say the explosion happened inside the Dow chemical plant late Friday night, forcing locals to shelter in place until the next morning. Luckily, no one was injured in the blast, but that massive mushroom cloud has some people worried about the possibility of pollution. So far, the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality hasn't detected any unsafe levels of toxins in the air. The wing that exploded did contain glycol. Now, that's a chemical commonly found in antifreeze. Well, crews were working through the weekend to put out fires that burned in the remains of that plant. In a statement, Dow said the company is committed to safety at all of its plants and will be conducting a full investigation. No word yet on what may have caused the initial explosion. Turning now to the war in Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin is now responding to the U.S.'s decision to give cluster bombs to Ukraine. Putin threatening retaliation, if necessary, against Ukraine with what he calls Russia's significant stockpile of cluster munitions. Putin also denied using cluster bombs so far in the war, but their use has been widely documented by both Russia and Ukraine. Correspondent Evan Moon is live in Washington with more. Evan, the idea of these cluster bombs is so concerning to so many because of the effects they have after they detonate.
That's exactly right, Nick, and we detail some of that. But these cluster bombs are controversial, and it was big news when the White House announced that they would be sending these munitions to Ukraine. And many in Washington are now commenting on those moves today as Putin initiates these new threats. Potential escalations of war. Today, Russian President Putin threatening to use cluster bombs, days after Ukrainian officials confirmed they had received thousands of these controversial cluster munitions from the U.S. These particular weapons pose a significant threat by randomly scattering bomblets over a wide area at once and are banned in many countries. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan today defended the moral decision to send these cluster bombs to Ukraine.
Our moral authority and Ukraine's moral authority in this conflict comes from the fact that we are supporting a country under brutal, vicious attack by its neighbor. I would say that we are stepping up to give Ukraine what it needs in order to not be defenseless in the face of a Russian onslaught.
Support for Ukraine has become a topic of contention in Washington. A growing number of congressional lawmakers have balked at the billions in taxpayer dollars the U.S. has already spent to boost Ukraine's war efforts. The Department of Defense reporting this month $41.3 billion in assistance sent since the war began.
We will not waver. Our commitment to Ukraine will not weaken.
A group of far-right House Republicans set to vote to strip money from Ukraine from the annual defense budget, although this has little hope of passing the Democrat-led Senate.
Ukraine is not the 51st state. Sending money to fund a war in a foreign country does not deter war. It continues it.
And 2024 hopefuls vying to take all of this on from the White House, weighing in on these big foreign policy issues.
The truth is, what I saw was not just evidence of war, but I saw evil. And I believe that it is in the interest of the United States of America to continue to give the Ukrainian military the resources that they need to repel the Russian invasion and restore their sovereignty.
I wish the D.C. elites cared as much about our border as they do about the Ukraine-Russia border. This is humiliating for our country that we're running out of ammunition. You have to do what's based on our interests. You can't subcontract out our interests to a foreign leader.
And today, another grim milestone as the last ship left a Ukrainian port to safely export Ukrainian grain. The deadline to extend this key wartime deal expiring today, sparking new concerns of food security in the region. And it's interesting to note these varying opinions on continuing support to Ukraine. But we are hearing from congressmen this week that they don't want to politicize our military and our defense capabilities. And they do plan to pass a National Defense Act for 2024 that is bipartisan. Nick.
We will definitely have to wait and see. Evan Moon reporting to us live tonight from the nation's capital. Evan, thank you. For more on this, we're joined now by retired Army Major General William Einjart. Major General, exactly how serious is this threat from Putin? And given there's widespread documentation that both Russia and Ukraine have already used cluster bombs in this conflict?
Well, good evening, Nick. I think that Putin has so far been talking about using cluster bombs. In order to use cluster bombs, he'd have to drop those from airplanes. I think that would put the Russian warplanes at serious risk due to the anti-air weapons that the Ukrainians already possess, and the fact that we're apparently going to provide them with F-16 fighter planes. So the Russians would pay a heavy price to launch those weapons. Now, they have reportedly already been using cluster munitions, as have the Ukrainians reportedly. I think that Putin is quite likely to continue the very little regard for the law of war in attacking schools and hospitals and protected targets, whether that's in Ukraine or in Chechnya or in Syria. So it's unlikely that a treaty that he's not a signatory to would even begin to slow him down. And it's worth noting, too, that neither the U.S. nor Ukraine is a signer to this treaty.
Did the Biden administration make the right call by sending these type of munitions to Ukraine?
Well, I think so. Ukraine has promised that they will not use them on Russian territory, that they'll only use them on Ukrainian land that's been occupied by the Russians. So since Ukraine will be using them on its own land, they have every incentive to decontaminate once the war is over. And you need to remember, too, that Russia has already extensively mined Ukrainian territory as part of their strategy to prevent Ukraine from regaining that occupied land. So extensive decontamination will already be required.
General Enyart, I want to shift the focus to North Korea, which has test-fired its first intercontinental ballistic missile in 3 months this week. Now, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said today the administration is ready to talk. Will North Korea be willing to get to the table with the U.S.?
We have indicated to North Korea that we're prepared to sit down and talk without preconditions about their nuclear program. And we've also made clear to China that it is the United States who is ready for diplomacy and North Korea who is not.
Of course, General Enyart, that was Jake Sullivan that we just heard that sound from. He's saying that he wants North Korea at the table. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, certainly North Korea has not shown any inclination to talk. I think the only way that North Korea would begin to talk would be if China were really to jerk hard on North Korea's chain and tell them to sit down and talk. And until that happens, it's not likely to happen. The North Koreans, certainly under their current leadership, have shown a very aggressive posture and are not likely to back down from that posture, in my opinion.
Well, General Enyart, back here at home, Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville is continuing his months-long blockage of military promotions and nominations. Now, this is over his concerns over the Pentagon's abortion policy. Lawmakers on both sides and even some military leaders say this is holding up military appointments and impacting our readiness. Do you agree with that? And is that the case that he should be making at this level?
Well, I absolutely agree with this. And, that's been played, that game has been played many times in the past, and I think it's the wrong game to play. And it's been played by both sides. He's currently holding up something on the order of little over 250 promotions of general and flag officers, admirals. And that is simply not acceptable. We have generals who are retiring, generals who are being transferred, and we need leaders in these senior positions. And certainly with the problems that we've seen in the Indo-Pacific area with China, the problems that are ongoing in Ukraine, we need to have our leaders in place in order to respond. He is doing us no favors at all to drag social issues into what should be essentially a rubber stamp process. These generals have walked the walk and talked the talk, and they're prepared to be promoted and should be promoted.
General Enyart, I'm going to say this as a veteran. I think that it's often those who have not served who don't understand the necessity of having leadership in place for the rank and file, because it really is important for morale and everything that we do on the ground. Major General Enyart, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Good to be with you, Nick, and I couldn't agree more.
Thank you, sir. Let's quickly take a look at how Wall Street is opening this week. Stock futures started trading just over an hour ago and are starting somewhat flat, with the Dow Jones dipping slightly downward. Here we see numbers for the Dow, Nasdaq, and S&P 500. These are as of a few minutes ago. Okay, these numbers following a winning week for Wall Street, with profits reports from several major companies that exceeded expectations, and both the S&P 500 and Nasdaq touching their highest intraday levels since April 2022. Well, fierce flash floods, 5 people are dead and 2 others remain missing after fast rising floodwaters swept through parts of Pennsylvania. Several drivers abandoned their cars in the water. Heavy rain continued to fall across the Northeast on Sunday. We'll show you the hard-hit areas after the break. You're watching NewsNation Prime. And the Alabama woman who vanished in the middle of the night is alive. Police say she returned home on foot. What her family is saying about her mysterious reappearance.
GOP presidential candidate Chris Christie.
Our job is to get things done for the American people, and not small things, consequential things. And that's the kind of presidency I want to have.
Governor Christie, I appreciate you answering the questions.
Thanks for having me, and thanks to the entire News Nation audience. Thanks for giving me the chance, Chris.
Who right now? Why is it important we know the truth?
Leland, that is an excellent question.
That's a good question.
Great question.
We want people to think one of 3 things when they watch the show. I didn't know that, I hadn't thought of that, or that's exactly what I was thinking.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too. Jardiance may cause serious side effects including ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop taking Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. And don't take it if you're on dialysis. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with the big story to tell.
Doors can lead us toward what's important. Your dedicated Fidelity advisor can help you open those doors by working with you on a retirement income plan designed to balance growth and guaranteed income. Because doors were meant to be opened.
Pop quiz. Did you know you can lose weight with a plan that fits your budget and your goals? Introducing Quick 9 from Nutrisystem. Lose up to 9 pounds your first 2 weeks. You get delicious frozen meals delivered right to your door with convenient shipments at an affordable price and fast weight loss.
I'm saving money and I'm losing weight.
It's flexible, it's affordable, and it works. Get off to a fast start with Quick 9. Call or go online right now to get over 50% off plus free extras.
I went to Angie and typed in pool,
water heater,
cleaners, garage,
interior painting, exterior painting.
For whatever project you need, there's an option.
Oh, I have another project. Let me try this.
Get started at Angie.com today.
Lactate is 100% real milk, just without the lactose. Delicious, too. Just ask my old friend Kevin.
Nothing like enjoying a cold one while watching the game. Who's winning?
No idea.
Real milk, real delicious.
And don't forget to try some delicious, creamy Lactate ice cream. What's that, Mabel?
Wow. Smart cow.
Well, depending on where you live, it's been a weekend of extreme weather across the U.S. Heavy flooding has hit much of the Northeast, including Pennsylvania, where at least 5 people died and 2 others are missing after a flash flood swamped a road so forceful that it swept cars away. Officials say torrential downpours brought 6.5 to 7 inches of rain to the Washington Crossing area. A baby and a toddler went missing after the storm hit Bucks County. Officials say the water rose swiftly and violently in a scene that stunned veteran rescue workers. On the other end of the country and the other end of the weather spectrum, Death Valley is putting the exclamation point on a brutal heat wave hitting the Southwest. Today, the temperature reached 128 degrees in Death Valley, which runs along part of the California-Nevada border. That's not too far from the Guinness World Record for highest ever recorded temperature in world history of 134 degrees. That was set back in 1913, also in Death Valley. Meanwhile, Las Vegas reportedly hit 115 degrees, just missing its all-time high by 2 degrees. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has issued air quality alerts for several states due to smoke coming from Canadian wildfires. The alerts are in place for much of the Great Lakes, Midwest, and northern high plains due to the lingering thick concentration of Canadian wildfire smoke in the atmosphere. Now, according to the National Weather Service, the concentration of smoke should begin to wane by tomorrow. Turning to a story we've been tracking this weekend, an exciting update tonight. The young woman who vanished after she says she stopped to help a child on the side of the road is home safe this evening. Police say 25-year-old Carly Russell made it home on foot late last night, more than 48 hours after she went missing. Carly called 911 on her way home from work Thursday night, telling officials that she spotted a toddler along the side of the interstate. When officers arrived just 5 minutes later, they found Carly's car and her belongings, but no sign of her or the child. Tonight, Carly's family is grateful to have her back, safe and sound. Police in Hoover, Alabama tell us this remains an active investigation. Well, campaign shakeup. Presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis fires roughly a dozen of his staffers. The move in response to his low fundraising numbers. We're digging into the amount of money he and his rivals are raising. That and more as NewsNation Prime continues.
When moderate to severe ulcerative colitis keeps flaring, put it in check with Rinvoq, a once-daily pill.
When UC got unpredictable, I got rapid symptom relief with Rinvoq and left bathroom urgency behind. Check.
When UC got in my way, I got lasting steroid-free remission with Rinvoq. Check.
And when my gastro saw damage,
Rinvoq helped visibly repair the colon lining. Check. Rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission, and a chance to visibly repair the colon lining. Check, check, and check.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers including lymphoma and skin cancer, death, heart attack, stroke, and tears in the stomach or intestines occurred. People 50 and older with at least one heart disease risk factor have higher risks. Don't take if allergic to Rinvoq, as serious reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Put UC in check and keep it there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastro about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie could help you save.
One legendary icon deserves another.
Get in!
The future of Chevy electric SUVs has arrived. See Barbie, only in theaters July 21st, and experience the all-new Chevy Blazer EV SS.
My name is April, and I am a caregiver. I've been with Nell now for 2.5 years. I know how much her family relies on me.
At Care.com, you can find the local senior care help your family needs with profiles, reviews, and more. Care.com.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. We designed smarter ways to detect motion for fast emergency response. We create HD cameras so you can see what's happening in your home from anywhere. All powered by Fast Protect technology, exclusively from SimpliSafe for faster police response. Because in here, your safety is the only thing that matters. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Blood sugar, normal. If those are words you long to hear, you need to try doctor-developed Gluco Gold. This all-in-one formula contains the full research dose of berberine that helps keep your blood sugar in the normal range, plus 3 other powerful ingredients.
It's made a great difference in my life.
We're so sure Gluco Gold will give you round-the-clock support, we'll send you a complimentary bottle. Text TANGO to 42424.
It keeps my sugar levels right where I want it.
Gluco Gold will help you maintain healthy blood sugar levels, while it supports healthy cholesterol and insulin sensitivity guaranteed. Take the first step to making sure your next checkup is better than your last, and hearing those 3 wonderful words: blood sugar, normal. You can only get your complimentary bottle by texting TANGO to 42424. Plus, text right now and you'll receive a bottle of vitamin D3 immune support absolutely free. Text TANGO to 42424.
Welcome back to NewsNation Prime. The 2024 race for the White House is in full swing, and now we're getting a closer look at how much each campaign is earning on the trail as fundraising numbers are released. Unsurprisingly, President Biden and former President Trump lead their separate parties, and this may have a ripple effect on the field, with a major shakeup for one top Republican candidate. Correspondent Evan Moon joins us live from Washington to break this all down. Evan, it looks like the Never Back Down campaign of Mr. DeSantis is getting beaten down.
That's right, Nick. As these new fundraising numbers are reported, it's giving a fresh look at how much support these candidates are garnering and putting new pressure on a lot of these candidates. And we may be seeing that firsthand with the Florida governor's campaign. Yesterday, Ron DeSantis' team firing roughly a dozen staffers in a huge campaign shakeup. And the DeSantis team is releasing a statement saying, in part, defeating Joe Biden and the $72 million behind him will require a nimble and candidate candidate-driven campaign, and we are building a movement to go the distance. The campaign there referencing the $72 million raised this quarter for President Biden, appearing to signify that these firings are a result of their fundraising levels. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these fundraising totals for the candidates for the second quarter being released by campaigns. As mentioned, you see President Biden there way ahead with a reported $72 million, followed by Trump with $35 million and DeSantis with $20. Now, it is important to note this money comes from the DNC, the RNC, big corporations and committees, individual donors, and super PACs. And Biden may be gaining more support with less opposition in his own party. But this is extremely important for these candidates at this point in the election cycle, not only for big ad spending and reservations, but candidates also need a certain number of donors to even qualify for presidential debates. It's also interesting to look at who is struggling to garner donor support. But former Vice President, Mike Pence, with only a reported 1.2 million this quarter. Now, I do want to get to some of the most recent polling for our 2024 hopefuls this week as well. In the GOP field, Trump at nearly 50% of the Republican vote, and DeSantis once again slipping to 21%. The governor's team today attributing Trump's rise in the polls to sympathy of the Manhattan indictment. That's the one that centers over alleged hush money to Stormy Daniels. And on the other side of the aisle, not too surprising to see President Biden leading his party there, but RFK Jr. definitely making his mark with 16% of the Democratic vote. These candidates in full-blown campaign mode with only 16 months until the U.S. presidential election, Nick.
Ooh, wow. It's right around the corner. Evan Moon reporting to us live this evening from the nation's capital. Evan, thank you. For more on the latest from the campaign trail, we're joined by NewsNation political and economic contributor Mick Mulvaney. He also served as White House chief of staff during the Trump administration and is the co-chair at Actum Strategic Advisors. Mick, good evening. How are you?
Nick, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me here on Sunday night.
Oh, I'm glad you're here so you can help us break this all down. You heard these numbers that Evan just talked about. Joe Biden raking in big bucks. President Trump still double digits ahead. As you just heard, probably the biggest news coming out of all of this race from this weekend is Ron DeSantis firing as many as 12 campaign staffers, with more expected in the coming weeks. He sits second behind the former president in both polling and fundraising. So why is he the first to make such a drastic move?
Nick, a couple different things. First of all, he raised a bunch of money when he first came out and announced for president, and they probably started spending money as if that was going to continue, and it hasn't quite continued. Keep in mind, and I know it makes for splashy news, firing 12 mid-level, low-level staffers isn't that big a deal for a campaign. Yes, you never want that story to get out there. You never want to have to lay people off at all, but it's not like it means the campaign is going to grind to a halt. It's a relatively small change. But again, you don't ever want to make even the smallest changes because it shows a little bit of weakness. Another one of the data points that you folks talked about was Biden's $72 million, which is a really good number. There's no question about it. But keep in mind, because he is the incumbent president, that number will reflect both his fundraising and the Democrat National Committee fundraising put together. None of the Republicans get the benefit of that because they're not the incumbent president. So generally speaking, Nick, the numbers are fairly soft across the board. Neither Trump nor Biden seem to be pulling in what Obama pulled in 2008 or what Trump pulled in 2020. So across the board, it looks like there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what happens.
Mick, is that because it's early? Is that because there's a lack of enthusiasm? Or is that just because, hey, Nick, they don't really have to focus on that just yet?
It's a little bit of both. It's July, which is a miserable time to raise money anyway. But the enthusiasm is, yeah, I mean, keep in mind, former President Trump continues to poll at about 50% in the Republican Party. That's lower than he would probably want. It's enough to win the primary. There's no question about it. But that means that half of the Republican voters aren't supporting him as of this moment. Over on the other side of the ledger, while President Biden's numbers are really good, keep an eye on that 16% for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's not really a vote for RFK. That's the vote amongst Democrats who are willing to say publicly, at least to a pollster, that they don't support President Biden. If that stays in the 16 to low 20s, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. But if you see that number start to creep up into the upper 20s or maybe even the lower 30s, you'll start to hear more and more discussion about other Democrats possibly getting in the race because of President Biden's weakness.
Trump and Biden leading their party and campaign, raising money for their respective parties. But at the bottom of that, we saw both Mike Pence, the former VP, and we saw Chris Christie ahead of the former VP. Chris Christie seems to be gaining momentum.
He is, and there's actually a poll out from New Hampshire over the weekend that shows him a point behind DeSantis in third place. I think Trump polls around 50, DeSantis is at 11, and Christie is 10. Keep in mind, these two states, these two critical early states, Nick, Iowa and New Hampshire, are somewhat unique in the electoral system because they're so local. They're so rural is not the right word, but it's a very personal type of relationship that the voters have with the candidates. They want to see the candidates face to face. And it's really hard to spend as much time in both states as every candidate wants to do. So some will focus on Iowa and some will focus on New Hampshire. Chris Christie spent almost all of his time in New Hampshire beating up on President Trump, and it looks like he's gaining a little bit of traction in that critical early state.
Mick, is that an effective strategy? We've heard Mr. Christie say that the only way to beat Trump is to go through Trump.
Yeah, well, I think that's right. If he's got 50%, and he's the former sitting president. He's polling at 50%. He's the ostensible head of the party still. You have to sort of go through him. I think what Chris Christie is really unique in his approach is that everybody else who's running against Donald Trump is sort of afraid to attack Donald Trump because they don't want to turn off his voters. They're sort of looking at everybody else going, well, I don't want to attack him. You attack him, because if you attack him, then his voters might come to me. Chris Christie doesn't seem to care about that. I think he's really just more interested in seeing Donald Trump lose, which makes for a fascinating kind of dynamic. It's sort of like the rest of the candidates should be giving a little bit of money to Chris Christie because he's doing the dirty work that they can't do. So it's a fascinating dynamic, especially in that early state of New Hampshire.
Mick, less than 30 seconds. Last question for you. Are we watching the slow rise of DeSantis or the slow decline?
Oh, it's way too early to say, Nick. You'll be up and down. Keep in mind, Joe Biden, I think, finished 8th in Iowa and 6th in New Hampshire or something like that before he won South Carolina. We won't know how this shakes out until after the South Carolina primary for these major contenders. My guess is Asa Hutchinson might be out after Iowa and New Hampshire, but those big names will be in until at least South Carolina, which will be in late February.
So a whole lot of mudslinging and money raising to go.
That's politics, baby.
Mick Mulvaney, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Have a good night. On Tuesday night, former Vice President Mike Pence will be speaking with NewsNation's Elizabeth Vargas on her show, Elizabeth Vargas Reports. You can watch that Tuesday night right here at 6 p.m. Eastern on NewsNation. Well, the deserts of Southern California are becoming the new ground zero for the illegal operations of Mexican cartels. They're turning land into illegal and highly lucrative marijuana farms called no-go zones. We'll have more on that story that you'll see only on NewsNation.
My mental health was much better, but I struggled with uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia. TD can be caused by some mental health meds.
And it's unlikely to improve without treatment. I felt like my movements were in the spotlight.
Ingrezza is a prescription medicine to treat adults with TD movements. Ingrezza is different. It's the simple, once-daily treatment proven to reduce TD that's #1 prescribed. People taking Ingrezza can stay on their current dose of most mental health meds. Ingrezza 80 milligram is proven to reduce TD movements in 7 out of 10 people. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to any of its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects, including sleepiness. Don't drive, operate heavy machinery, or do other dangerous activities until you know how Ingrezza affects you. Other serious side effects include potential heart rhythm problems and abnormal movements.
It's nice. People focus more on me.
Ask your doctor about #1 prescribed once daily Ingrezza. Learn how you could pay as little as $0 at Ingrezza.com.
Is your credit score getting in the way of the things you want to do? Personal loans through NetCredit offer fast and flexible lending. Borrow up to $10,000 and choose repayment terms that work for you. You may even be able to build your credit history as you repay. NetCredit, a more personal loan.
How do you commit the perfect murder?
And there's only one way to find out.
There's something not right here.
How's the entire family simply vanished?
We need to know what happened.
There's someone else pulling the strings here.
I don't know who you're talking about!
My lips are sealed. That is interesting.
Now, come on!
Only on BritBox. Watch with a free trial.
Pop quiz. Did you know you can lose weight with a plan that fits your budget and your goals? Introducing Quick 9 from Nutrisystem. Lose up to 9 pounds your first 2 weeks. You get delicious frozen meals delivered right to your door with convenient shipments at an affordable price and fast weight loss.
I'm saving money and I'm losing weight.
I saw results in my first 2 weeks.
We know grocery prices are out of control. We're here to help. Order right now to lock in our special introductory offer. Get over 50% off plus free extras. Get free protein shakes, a free shaker bottle, and free shipping. That's over $40 in extra savings and can be yours when you act now.
With Nutrisystem, I'm eating healthy and I'm saving money.
The phone lines are open and reps are standing by. With Quick 9, lose up to 9 pounds your first 2 weeks. It's flexible, it's affordable, and it works. Get off to a fast start with Quick 9. Call or go online right now to get over 50% off plus free extras.
So many people are overweight now and asking themselves, why can't I lose weight? For most, the reason is insulin resistance, and they don't even know they have it. Conventional starvation diets don't address insulin resistance. That's why they don't work. Now there's GOLO. GOLO helps with insulin resistance, getting rid of sugar cravings, helps control stress and emotional eating, and losing weight. Go to GOLO.com and see how GOLO can change your life. That's GOLO.com.
Works hard at hour one and twice as hard when you take it again the next day. So Betty can be the
barcode beat conductor.
Go, Betty! Let's be more than our allergies. Seize the day with Zyrtec.
The best political team anywhere. The Hill, weekdays at 5, 4 Central on NewsNation.
When you drive a Ram, summer is more than a season. It's an opportunity to load up on more toys, to stop looking for fun and be the one who brings it, and to make every day even more inviting than the last. Make this the summer you drive a Ram.
During the Ram Make This the Summer event, get 10% below MSRP on all 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn models.
Welcome back to NewsNation Prime. Well, cartels are turning desert land in California into no-go zones, areas where illegal marijuana is grown by the cartels. Residents who live near these zones are nervous and, in some cases, have been threatened. Law enforcement is trying to keep up with the illegal grow operations, but they're having a tough time doing so. Jorge Ventura joins us live with more on the story. Jorge, this has to be disconcerting for those who live in that area.
Yeah, that's right, Nick. It's all occurring around me, actually here in the deserts of Southern California. And this all really started back in 2016 when California passed its historic Prop 64 bill, selling voters on the idea of a thriving marijuana commercial market here in the Golden State. But the passage of the bill also reduced criminal penalties for illegal cultivation, which just opened up the floodgates for cartels and criminal gangs to enter the black market with little to no consequences. Neighbors, too frightened to leave their property, law enforcement outnumbered, run by Mexican and Asian organized criminals. No-go zones protect the illegal marijuana grows in Southern California. But the Riverside Sheriff's Department, led by Sheriff Bianco, is fighting back.
It's an unbelievably lucrative criminal enterprise, and we're not getting help from the state. We're not getting help from our lawmakers to try and combat it, and our communities are the ones that are suffering from it.
The Sheriff's Department began raiding these no-go zones, aiming to put a dent in criminal operations. NewsNation was with officers as they busted 5 illegal grows in Anza, California.
A lot of times they'll try and camouflage these.
Bedrooms, kitchens, showers, and hundreds, if not thousands, of marijuana plants. Officers cut down the sprouting buds, dealing a blow to organized crime. But the environmental and physical impact of no-go zones are felt by neighbors. Like precious water resources are now being directed to illegal crops, drying up fruit orchards that have grown here for years. Neighbors spoke to NewsNation on the request that they remain anonymous for fear of retaliation.
It just did not make sense that they were allowing outside sales of this water for the growing of illegal crops. You know, we couldn't, the peach orchards here, if you look around, they're dried up. The farmers out here are dried up because of the water, but the cannabis growing was just prolific.
These illegal marijuana grow operations are popping up all across the deserts in Southern California and are being linked to high levels of water theft and threats of violence.
My friend was told not to go up there anymore. And that's just hiking, driving quads. She was told, do not come up here. You don't belong up here. This is what happened to the last guy who came up here. And they showed him a picture of a murdered guy in a truck.
While these issues may only seem like a problem for California, Sheriff Bianco sees it another way.
So goes California, so goes the rest of the country. They love saying that term. Well, come talk to us here. You don't want this going on in your neck of the woods.
And residents living next to these grow operations tell NewsNation that they feel like they're being forced out of their communities. And many of those residents that we did speak with say that they are in the process of moving out of state because of this issue, Nick.
Jorge, this has to be a problem for so many on so many levels. Jorge Ventura, thank you so much. One of the high-ranking members of Congress is calling for government reports on UFOs to be declassified. What this could mean as lawmakers prepare for a hearing on this later this month. You're watching NewsNation Prime.
You can't count on the weather, but you can count on Dish and our reliability guarantee. Should you ever lose signal, contact us and we'll credit back your account.
Hey, Dylan, I want your dad to go out and help you practice your sliding.
The reliability guarantee from Dish.
If you have Graves' disease, your eye symptoms could mean something more. That gritty feeling can't be brushed away. Even a little blurry vision can distort things, and something serious may be behind those itchy eyes. Up to 50% of people with Graves' could develop a different condition called thyroid eye disease, which should be treated by a different doctor. See an expert. Find a TED eye specialist at isitted.com.
I got this mountain bike for only $11.
Deal-Dash.com, the fair and honest bidding site. This iPad sold for less than $43. This KitchenAid mixer sold for less than $26. A 4K television for under $2. A MacBook Pro for under $16. This PlayStation 5 sold for less than $1. And brand new cars for less than $900. Deal-Dash.com offers hundreds of auctions every day. All auctions start at $0 and everything must go. And don't forget, we offer a full 90-day money-back guarantee on your first bid pack purchase.
I won these Bluetooth headphones for $20.
I got these 3 suitcases for less than $40.
And shipping is always free.
Go to Deal-Dash.com today and see how much you can save.
There are auctions going on right now. So what are you waiting for?
Take a pea-sized amount. Apply it like a lotion. Pits, under boob, thigh folds, butt cracks, feet. This water-based cream, I'm telling you, it's invisible on the skin. It works like a dream. Why didn't someone think of this sooner?
At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. Every 15 seconds, our professional monitoring agents receive a call for help.
Police are on their way.
They use Fast Protect technology exclusively from Simply Safe to capture evidence and verify a threat is real, so you can get faster police response. Because in here, your safety is the only thing that matters. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
If you're over 50, imagine you could turn back the clock on your stiff, achy joints 10, even 20 years. Imagine you could do this without products that just temporarily hide the symptoms and may have side effects. Imagine no more. Introducing Instaflex Advanced. Get a complimentary sample just by texting DEEP to 231231. Instaflex Advanced is different because it targets the root cause of joint soreness and stiffness. It doesn't just cover up symptoms. Instead, it bathes your joints in its unique combination of 5 key natural ingredients found in no other product. Key ingredients backed by 5 clinical studies. Instaflex Advanced is so powerful, you could have better knees in just 1 week. Maybe that's why it's the #1 selling joint brand at GNC. But you can only get your complimentary sample by texting DEEP to 231231. Plus, text now and we'll include a tube of Instaflex pain cream with its exclusive oxygenated oil for fast-acting relief from the pain of arthritis, backaches, and sore muscles, absolutely free. Text DEEP to 231231.
Welcome back. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is working to introduce a bill that could let Americans finally see hard evidence of real UFOs. Later this month, the House Oversight Committee is planning to hold a hearing on UFOs. This comes after an exclusive report by NewsNation, where a whistleblower telling us the U.S. has a secret program to retrieve alien technology. NewsNation correspondent Joe Khalil has tonight's story.
Nick, we've certainly seen these efforts from lawmakers before, trying to get the Pentagon to be more transparent about their secrets they have on UAPs, the information that they're not sharing with the public. But it's rare that you get someone as high-ranking as Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to be making those demands. And certainly his level and where he is in the Senate carries some extra weight. A major call for more transparency around UFOs from the U.S. Senate's highest-ranking member. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer putting forward a measure compelling the Pentagon to share UAP, or unidentified aerial phenomena, records, reports, and potentially videos.
I do support transparency, and to the extent there's information that can be put into the public domain that is enlightening one way or the other.
The top Democrat in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, says he's open to the idea, saying it's worth the Pentagon sorting out publicly what's fact and what's conspiracy around the UAP issue.
Perhaps is able to dismiss some of the conspiracy theories that exist increasingly in our society, then that is certainly something that I support.
Schumer's bill would create a 9-person panel, all appointed by the president. It would give the Pentagon 300 days to turn over all material relating to UAPs to that panel, and the 9-member team would then sort through what should be declassified and what must remain secret. It's a plan, Schumer says, quote, modeled after the JFK Assassination Records Collection Act. It does have bipartisan support. Republican Congressman Greg Murphy says both Congress and the public should be asking more critical questions about UAP reports.
There is something that is unknown out there. I think to stick our head in the sand and to say, nothing's there is absolutely wrong.
The measure from Schumer, just one of hundreds of proposed additions to an already packed NDAA, the nation's annual defense bill, working its way through both the House and the Senate. And Nick, that's not the only piece of the NDAA that's related to UAPs. We've got Senator Marco Rubio and Kirsten Gillibrand. They have an amendment as well that would mandate that the Pentagon has to disclose any programs they have related to secrets about UAPs and potentially aircraft that they have been keeping in their possession. That goes directly to the claims that David Grush, our whistleblower, made on NewsNation. Nick?
Joe, a lot of people will be watching that. Joe Khalil from the nation's capital this evening. We're keeping track of breaking news out of Georgia. Police say officers killed the suspect connected to yesterday's shooting massacre. We'll have more information about this developing story during our next hour of Prime. You're watching NewsNation Prime, news for all America.